Draft game number 2 here as we get things going. Tempo Storm currently leads 1-0, Tetra.
That guarantees them at least 1 point, which means if the One take the win now, then Tempo Storm are tied in 3rd, 4th position with Fnatic, meaning there will have to be a tiebreaker tomorrow as neither of these two teams play any more games.
However, let's go.
Yeah, however, if Tempo Storm do win, they will achieve a lovely 3 points, which will put them tied with Ballistics, which mean it will be all up to Ballistics to steal 1 point away from Gen G to guarantee their second spot. Otherwise, there's a tiebreaker there as well.
I want to talk about this map pick really quick. You know, Kaldor, you mentioned earlier they always go to these 2 maps, the Dragonshire, the Volskaya Foundry. And you were thinking maybe they should move away from the Volskaya, or maybe they would in this series if it got tougher. I actually like that they keep running it because it means that some of their pocket strategies, perhaps going forward into playoffs on other battlegrounds, don't get shown. They could just kind of keep playing their macro style, keep controlling the item flow on this map, and show less. So I like that they just keep going back to this comfort pick. It doesn't make them look weak. It actually means they're hiding a lot more.
I mean, right now they're in a situation where they're already guaranteed to be within the top 4, so they can definitely go to Volskaya. There's 2 ways of how you can look at it. First of all, as you said, now they are not showing anything new, anything that they've not already shown in the past. But if they, for example, lost the first game and were extremely worried about how they can perform here, if they feel that the One is preparing for them specifically and is trying to counter them, then the thought process could have been, okay, we've shown so many games on Volskaya already here at the tournament with the current meta, so our opponent had time to study. Let's maybe go to something else that we have in a different map where we can still surprise them a bit. Because from the One's perspective, this should be a game that you knew it's very likely that we have to play against Tempo Storm here, so they should have something prepared. And I feel with going into an early pick Garrosh with that Maiev ban, I feel that's already trying to take 1 tool away from Tempo Storm, but I really expect the draft that counters Tempo Storm.
The first, I believe this is the first time that the One have managed to get their hands on the Garrosh, so like you said, stealing it away from Tempo Storm here, and it's one of the tougher tanks, but perhaps they might need something a little bit more to be able to get it into Barris. We've seen how well teams have been kiting the tank this entire tournament, really.
Yeah, it's interesting as well that we're seeing the 2 heroes I'm most curious about in the future of this group stage, the small part we have tomorrow, and of course moving into playoffs, is Malfurion and Johanna jumping up into first ban. I think that means that teams have finally realized, for example, Genji is very, very much lower priority. Garrosh is being dealt with a lot better. So we're going to see, I think, maybe a change, as we could see here, to Johanna and Garrosh actually kind of being in that first pick rotation here with Malfurion jumping up to the top. Johanna might even take the place of a little bit of Maiev. So that actually means we're going to see a lot more Maiev like we saw in the last game, because if Johanna ends up getting banned, you've got a lot of Maiev pick potential. So this is the first big shift we've seen upwards from heroes in this tournament, and I think it's really coming to a head in this series.
Usually Tyrael and Zeratul, but in this case, Johanna is not one I would have expected coming into this tournament to leap up meta-wise, but as you both said, it really can hold its own when you're against these Garrosh-style compositions.
Well, now one of the questions now is definitely what are we going to see, first of all, in terms of support. With Garrosh, you always have Stukov as a factor, and as we've seen before, the One definitely respects June on Garrosh as well, so they banned it out in game number 1. They could pick it for themselves to combo it with Garrosh, or then ban it later. But I would still also like Blaze to be taken here, just simply because the position that you can gain with him on the objective is absolutely fantastic here. And he's also, of course, great on that solo lane. There's the Stukov, and they decide in favor of Thrall over Blaze, which still leaves me with the question if they maybe ban it here against Tempo Storm.
I would not mind banning the Blaze at all, but I'm wondering if the One's own personal preference for Sonya might end up overriding that. I hope it doesn't, but they might just value Sonya more, and that might be a mistake.
I think there's also a chance that Dahaka enters the scene here for Tempo Storm, just given how they've been playing this map so far. Glaurung has looked really good on Dahaka recently, in my opinion, and you know, they've been controlling the macro aspects of the game. And I do like that, Kaldor, you pointed out that a lot of that was the One's mistake in the previous set. Tempo Storm just capitalized on their lack of rotation really well. But I think Tempo Storm may go to the Dahaka here if that Sonya ban comes through, and they can control the map, control those items like they do on this map all the time.
I mean, the macro decisions of the One on the last game were absolutely mind-blowing to me. There's just no other way of phrasing that. But Tempo Storm, of course, forced some of the mistakes that the One made for sure. The thing is, in the off-lane, Tempo Storm is actually very well set up. You mentioned Dahaka for Glaurung. We've been talking about Blaze. They still played Sonya. We've seen them on Malthael several times. Tempo Storm just likes to be very melee heavy, and they're usually good on all of these offlaners. So it's going to be difficult to ban one of them out. I think if you ban the offlane here, then it's just simply one pick in particular that you respect to an extent where you say we have to get rid of it. But with them picking Stukov and Malfurion being banned out, they're just at this point targeting supports and get rid of Deckard, which is another great zoning hero.
Very reasonable and very appropriate, considering we just highlighted June that he is being targeted so hard by the one here. And the Deckard as well, when they have Thrall, someone who does not want to have that kind of suppression on his own mobility.
I wonder if June's brave enough to pull out the Uther here. They have the Genji pick, works well. You can get in there.
Use the one zone draft against them.
Yeah, I mean, you get in there, you have Uther, you have the ability to set up a lot of plays with Johanna, burst down the back line if you can get Genji in there, Stukov being the target. But do you really want to show that here when you've already guaranteed your spot in the group? Is a tough question.
Well, I think the funny thing is that if they did want to go that way, that was actually where he first ever made his name, back when he played his first ever LAN in North America.
Warlock Geniuses, wasn't it, back then?
I think it may have been, yeah, and it was, he did very well in the Uther back then.
You guys were calling the Blaze. The Blaze coming out here. Should be a reasonable matchup against the Thrall here. To see how well he can deny those stacks especially is going to be important here.
That's a lot of frontline sustain, definitely, for Tempo Storm here. Great bank with Johanna, and then you have Blaze to your side.
Double Shimadas. It's all about the support now. If they can keep the Shimadas alive, they can have a wonderful time.
It's a tough call here as to how TheOne wants to handle this now. Blaze makes the Stukov pick much less valuable, and I feel like the Stukov pick was, in my opinion, picked purely as a support choke for June.
To be honest, I think if they get a bit of burst damage here and they get a flip with Garrosh just as a setup and they coordinate well, then they can definitely find kills here. You have Garrosh for the flip into a silence. On top of that, if need be, you can just complement that with Thrall, but you definitely need some burst damage to make sure that the target falls.
I guess the issue was is that they didn't have a problem finding kills per se last game. They just kind of fell apart elsewhere.
Well, there's your damage. It's very bursty.
Yeah, and that means that whatever I was thinking for in terms of who is playing what is very much in question, because I expected this was going to be Hugo on this Thrall. I still think it might be. But that implies that I guess Meng will be on the Zeratul, which still could be incredible. Andre, I'm almost certain, is going to be playing the Chromie here. But no matter what, this is very much a one-shot comp coming in here from TheOne. And it's very reliant on those silences to work.
I think Uther's still a great pick here because you're looking at single target damage. He can just divine shield that target. He's got a cleanse.
I'd say it might even be essential here.
Like
very much the best option, except maybe Rhaegar for cleanse as well.
I mean, there's Rhaegar's cleanse and Karzim could palm somebody, but besides that, I think Uther is just the best pick here. I think you go back to June's old staple, the mainstay. And how far he's come, really. I mean, I remember his first interview saying he looked up to Meriday as a support. Now he's here on the big stage. Meriday's not today. What's it going to be?
Maybe one day.
Lucio!
Okay.
That is
no cleanse on that one.
Furious. I mean, he has Symphonasia
on
Audaciter on level 20, but if you are relying on getting to level 20 to avoid Chromie Burst, you're going to have problems.
That's probably one of the last.
The speed boost, though. The speed boost, I think, works really well here. You help people get out of the silence. You help people avoid Garrosh in general. You can rotate really fast.
One of the... I can't remember who it was. One of the players yesterday, there was someone saying like, okay, so are you going to bring Lucio back? And I was like, nah, that hero is just not an option here. So now we have it in this game.
Highly unexpected.
But they pick it with confidence, and it's the last pick for them as well. So they had different options that they could have gone for. You mentioned Uther. We've seen Alexstrasza. You know that you're up against a Chromie. But if in that setup you feel that Lucio is the best pick, by all means, go for it.
Your thoughts?
My thoughts are, they seem to know what they're doing with the Lucio, but it's so reliant on June getting those basically perfect sound barriers. I trust you, but I can't abide with it. I have to go with TheOne. If they land their combos, it's an easy just kill after kill after kill.
Okay.
Also, I like China, so
of course.
The last game has really ruined China for me even more. Like, I think Volskaya is a very macro-heavy map where especially the item control is going to give you the edge on the objective, and TheOne has shown a severe lack of understanding of macro play in general on Infernal Shrines, and that's why I think even if they can take their kills, and they will, they will lose the game eventually just simply because Tempo Storm knows how to play the map and how to play macro, so Tempo Storm again.
I'm going to have to go with Tempo Storm as well. Lucio's going to give you opportunities to run around the map a little bit faster. You have the ability to use his speed boost to macro. Sound Barrier can be very, very strong in team fights. Sustain is the name of the game with his healing, so it's tough to kind of heal through that burst damage, but I trust June. He's looked fantastic this tournament, and yeah, Tempo Storm.
He got Blaze, so I feel that makes up for a bit of the weaknesses.
That's fair.
And I think I go with Tempo Storm too. I think as much as I don't have much faith in Lucio, I think the skill gap's there. And I love being able to say Rejuvenescencia. Hopefully they take it, but yeah.
I'm purely trusting the one thing I know the One are good at is killing things.
Yeah.
So I'm purely reliant on that to win the game.
I honestly think they wouldn't have taken Lucio if they didn't have Blaze.
I agree with you on that. I'm on board with that.
I also wonder if this means that June's trying to hide his form on Uther a little bit.
Ooh,
okay,
that's a good, excellent point.
88 to 12% looking good here for Tempo Storm in the chat. Let's see what our casters think. Lucio coming in at the very end, a little bit unexpected.
Wolf's wrong. He's trying to hide the Ana.
Yes.
Secretly trying to hide the Ana there. I will say I actually share a lot of the concerns with the Lucio pickup. I even feel like Alex Straza would have a little bit better synergy in some areas than that. That being said, the bunker is there, and as you guys said, the skill gap is there, and that's where I feel like I fall more on the side of Tempo as well.
All right, guys, break it down.
See what he did there? Break it down. He needs to get Hooligan over.
Every time I cast with you, I'm throwing fists. Like, you just make me angry. Apparently, last time it was the Diablo overcharge. Now we're dropping the beat, punching floors.
I mean, the floor's a long way down for me, so maybe I can't join you. Hey, look at that.
Got a hot pause here for a moment, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, I mean, let's go ahead and talk about the compositions maybe from our interpretation. What do you got here?
Well, I mean, the whole thing for me is the Lucio, right? I think it was highlighted pretty well by our panelists, and something you had just alluded to was, do you have the save button? I mean, you look at Temporal Loop from 8 to 9 and almost 10. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of options. The Zeratul, I mean, I was kind of looking at it as sustained damage on the side of the one. They don't have much. This is strictly skill shot reliant and pressing abilities. Your Chain Lightning is the only one you can really guarantee damage on. So I was a bit surprised we got the Lucio because of that. But, you know, I mean, Alex Straza, maybe you don't want the big pool underneath you. I don't know. I mean, Lucio seems like a little bit of a reach, but you got to give credit to the One for drafting the way that they did.
And here they are in the blue. It is the One with Hehe on Garrosh, ZJZ on his Stukov Meng. Going to be on the Thrall Chromie, played by Andre, and Hugo on Zeratul.
On the other side, we'll give you a quick hitter here because that's going to be Tempo Storm, Caterpillar on Johanna, Fan on Genji, Glaurung on Blaze, Psalm on Hanzo, and June trying to speed up the world here on the Lucio.
And I do think Wolf had, you know, a little bit of credit in kind of saying, you know, whatever they're kind of hiding, maybe the form of Uther or just any other support for that matter, here from the members of Tempo Storm. So far, when it comes to the Clyde over the mid lane, victory is going to fall to Tempo, but we did see the One go with the standard kind of off-lane approach with Zeratul transferring down. No, you know, experience lost here for Tempo Storm, and after the last game, macro's got to be on the mind for about everybody here. The One has to be able to hold on those rotations.
Well, you know, we're getting a little bit risky here because we got Crash Lightning coming in for Thrall. Some changes, some nerfs, but going into that Echo, not willing to commit to that double, which I think that double there, obviously, especially once you get to level 16, very, very strong for getting that control with that slow. As you can see, Fan doing a number on Zeratul on the bottom, but Crash Lightning, if you're going to do it, this and Battlefield of Eternity are the maps you'd want to have it on.
And as we know, when Tempo Storm ever finds themselves on Volskaya Foundry, they look at turrets and that biotic, you know, healing as much as they possibly can. And this is going to be the first, you know, kind of rotation out from them, picking up the turret. It is matched there by the One over on their half of the map. So very, you know, smart decision-making out of the One to at least be able to be aware and keep up with Tempo Storm because I mean, to be honest, Tempo Storm dominated through the North American scene purely because they were the fastest. Nobody who was able to match them. And as you see, from one turret, and, you know, over to the other objective here, Tempo wasted no time.
And that's the thing, is that sometimes we talk about these teams saying, have you done your research? Where are you in drafting? You've got to know that that healing pulse, that biotic emitter is so strong on this battleground. It's something that Tempo loves to do. And if you tell me I've got a Stukov, a Chromie that literally has to shoot in a small area, a Garrosh that can control point like no other, and I can just throw people away, that's a risk I'm willing to take if I'm the One, but they opted to just kind of rotate down to the bot lane, alleviate some pressure for Zeratul, and that's pretty much it.
I agree completely. Their composition is very effective when it comes to early game skirmishing from beginning to end. Actually, talking about early game skirmishing, they end up finding themselves a Fan once more, flip over Chromie combo there, and the One give first blood.
Man, I love Fan. I love him as a player. But I remember at Western Clash, Mopsio, this very map, was hiding in the bush on their side, right? And in that last one, he got ganked by the Tracer right out of the bush. I feel like he needs to stay away from some of these bushes. Might be a little bit safer.
Yeah, I mean, I said it already here at the MSB, and I'm going to continue to do so. It just is not the best look for Fan at a tournament that we have seen so far. That being said, it is not obviously detrimental. Tempo Storm is very well performing compared to, what we have seen North America do in the past. But, I mean, he is one of the few, the 5 North American world champions that we have. And this tournament, it's not, the greatest form of him.
I will say if that's the worst that I get out of him, I'm still fine with that. Either way, shore those things up. We'll see how it goes. Right now, Tempo Storm, they have obtained control of this control point, as we'll see TheOne starting to approach, seeing if they can find their opportunity as Chromie rotates down.
Once again, Fan getting into the 1v1 there with the Zeratul winning, trading up very effectively, setting him down to 50%, as you can see with those health bars on the UI above. 40% and counting here for Tempo Storm. As eventually Fan, once he gets the clear, will be able to make the rotation, beat Hugo in transition, and giving Tempo even that much more of an edge here as they pick up 7s.
Yeah, curious when they'll rotate somebody to the top, because there will be a camp pushing for TheOne, and I think that was the reason why they had Glaurung get the advantage with Fan in that bot lane, slow the rotation of Zeratul down, or it looks like they might actually just be trying to get a kill, looking with their eyes there on Stukov on the back, as you're pointing to.
Yeah, ZJZ needs to tread lightly there when Fan sits in that kind of shrub. Look to kind of pull the trigger. Instead, going to go down and get the kill onto Hugo, setting him to what is 5% of his HP. Once again, Hugo has to get the back here. Fan now joins in with the rest of Tempo Storm. The turret's down, but having a man up, I don't think Tempo is going to be too feared here of the members of TheOne.
They're still holding on to one of those turrets. They actually put down the healing pulse as well. You're going to see the root come in, Cattle zoning out, and TheOne, they're going to concede. And Dreadnought, there's been so many times on this battleground, the first protector just puts you miles ahead. And you look at the experience now, that lead is going to stretch very rapidly.
Yep, and Tempo Storm, much like the clockwork of the turret into the, biotic emitter, same like clockwork when it comes to that protector here. Make the transition for the front wall over the mid lane, front wall towards top, drop the well, and find yourself with a significant experience advantage. Tempo Storm currently has, the North American Volskaya dream going for themselves, and after catching Andre with that machine gun, Fan comes in for the reset. He finds it, and Tempo gained their first kill of this game.
Oh, they're going to find a second one as the protector goes from just destroying structures to wrecking lives. And now what went from bad has now gone to worse here for TheOne, and Tempo Storm, they're rapidly approaching level 10. And when they have level 10 and this type of control over the battleground without much wave clear defense on the side of TheOne, this could snowball pretty heavily soon.
Yeah, most of the time when we do end up seeing this decision-making from Tempo Storm, that they're looking to look far into the future of where this game is going to happen, right? With the 10 advantage, do they look for the pressure throughout mid, or do they end up getting it onto the bottom half of the map? I personally would like to, I think in this type of situation, see that transition towards bottom more than mid, purely because that typically is where the win condition comes in through control point C. But they are kind of rounding an advantage moment where they might want to get that mid pressure just so they can be that much more threatening with that control point B when that ends up coming to life. Either way, TheOne is going to have to play as passively as you see them play right here up until they find themselves with Baroques.
Yeah, Tempo always prioritizes those turrets. Yeah, I'd say if the lead was a little bit smaller, then maybe they don't risk that, try and find that advantage right away. But they're like, look, we've got time. Let's just hang out. Let's chill. We've got Hanzo here wrecking around, getting those scatter arrows down. Of course, did go that explosive at level 4, but they are loading up on items one more time.
What is the count here in total? At least between the 3 we have Vision on there, just 2 turrets and that 1 healing. Oh, wow, look at that. What was that? Blessed Shield Dragon Arrow combo there for a second? That was very close range. Both popped there, but ZJZ and friends actually end up surviving. Interesting decision-making there from Tempo Storm, not fully, kind of being together as a unit, but still willing to try and capitalize on the misposition of TheOne. Still without the 10s, probably going to be the thought process there, but Tempo really with the 10 advantage, they only claim themselves 2 turrets, and though it is a pretty significant advantage, I honestly would have liked to see more focus onto the structures.
Yeah, I definitely would have myself. I mean, just stretch your lead even further. Look, the picture is you're going to be 13 if you're Tempo Storm. TheOne will be rounding 11.5, 12. They might try and get that advantage in another lane, try and get that experience the same way we saw them in the last game, or try and get it through getting a fight and being aggressive, and that's what they're going to do right now.
Tempo, though, has that kind of pressure on the opposite side of the map, as that Iron Skin walking entirety through that lurking arm. Not too concerned there for Tempo Storm. And TheOne They need to be able to force this fight. They're doing their best, and it's going to happen here with the Void on the mid lane. Saw him able to use the natural agility of the wall. Hugo, though, trying to get the track down. He goes into the bunker, and surely he will not survive out of that. He goes in, he goes out, he goes in, and he comes right back out there. Saw him actually keeping himself alive for now. The taunt, though, afterwards, damage comes through, and the one end up getting the pick. But hey, trying to get the kite out, you actually do so. Fan with the temporal loop.
Oh, he's trying. Look, if you're going to kill me, I'm going to do my best to kill you in return. Unable to do so. You know, for the one, that almost fell apart. But you got to credit Zeratul there. And Mang, he missed his wolf opening up. And that was a major problem to start that right out of the Void Prison. But they ended up getting the kill.
One thing to also note there, June actually booped that Sandblast.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he booped the Sandblast. One thought process I haven't considered yet into the concept of, Chromie wanting to sit back is that mobility is going to make it a little bit easier to get on top of it. That being said, a Dragon's Arrow plus Genji just in general are usually pretty effective targets to make that happen, but he'll be able to help the rest of Tempo Storm kind of join the ranks there. With Tempo, though, having 13 talents here, control point B is realistically going to be theirs unless somehow a massive fight ends up happening for the one. And I would like to highlight, without a Void Prison Earthquake, I think that's extremely unrealistic. So minimum 20 seconds. But with that Dragon's Arrow combo, Tempo just get deletion number 1 and 2 there onto Mang. Cutthroat there. The second they pull the trigger, the one's gone.
So 4-man Dragon Arrow, and that was brutal. And I want to also highlight something else that Cattle, it's almost like having a heroic. Cattle does this on Johanna. He goes to level 7 punish talent that if you hit 4 members with that at one time, you've now completed it, and you get a mega slow permanently that does not wear off. With that 4-man Dragon Arrow, that made it a hell of a lot easier, and he completed that. So now, Cattle, we sometimes say, hey, Johanna doesn't have the greatest initiation, doesn't have the greatest control on the front line. That is an insane talent if you can complete it, and he did on that last play.
We do see the invade, though, later on here for the one. 13 Talonteers are still not quite here. Iron Skin already dropped. Jet Propulsion going to land on just one. Fan getting pressured by Hugo. Not going to be able to lock down for the kill. Biotic Emitter picked up by Hehe into the fray over the wall. Has to drop the Indomitable and accepts his fate here as he is going to go down. The Void Prison actually buying a little bit of time. The taunt goes through, but Fan actually auto-attacks to death still there, even being taunted down. In Tempo, they've got the Protector. Man up, and the world is theirs.
Yeah, the camp pushing top lane. A lot of times we'll see teams rotate down to that bottom lane, set up for the third when it looks like they have their eyes here on the top lane, get a keep, and then rotate out, then have ultimate control with, they're on the same talent tier only momentarily, and Hugo, he's in trouble.
Slowed down the machine gun there from the Protector, ends up getting the follow-through there, or not the follow-through, excuse me, the wormhole attempt, and ends up, it's still going down. Cattle actually keeping himself alive thanks to the jet propulsion. We do end up seeing a bunker usage. CJZ actually survived for a second due to the time trap. Fan ended up getting the kill, though, able to make it out. And now the members of Tempo Storm, a 2-man advantage here, trying to get the kill on the Hey, temporal loop damage. Not going to be there yet.
I was kind of wondering, that actually interrupted his Swift Strike. I didn't see it at first, but you could see the animation of that final cut at 16 go through, so that actually interrupted, unable to get out in time. I think he might have used that a half second too early or got interrupted. Either way, Genji ends up falling there. I kind of wondered if they might be able to cycle somebody out of that Protector, get somebody in, but just not enough time there. But the damage is done, keep is down, Tempo Storm 2-level lead.
Tempo Storm, they've got a little bit of breathing room. And, to no one's surprise, I feel like it's pretty predictable where we're going to see them move next. You see those 2 yellow dots on the bottom half of the map? It's likely going to be the transition there. I was actually sitting outside watching one of their games with their coach earlier, and it was funny. He said, you see those yellow things on the map? Get them. Every time they're on Volsky, he was very, just yelling at the team. They're yellow, make them red. Because this is the go-to here for Tempo. So impactful. And to be honest, I'm going to be surprised. I'm surprised Tempo doesn't go for an automatic invade through this. Heroics are not all the way up here, maybe positionally not everybody together, but with a 16 into 15, Tempo typically is far more aggressive.
Yeah, I think this time they're going to play it cautious. They realize they have the catapults, opting for a slightly less aggressive approach. And, you mentioned that because that used to be a qualm that we had with Tempo last year. Yeah. It's like, look, you're letting your foot off the gas a little bit too much. There's a difference between playing cautiously and what we saw from Tempo Storm last year. It's one of the major improvements that we see with this newer roster for Tempo is that they know when they can be aggressive, and they're far more controlling in that. This time, I think, with the keep down, maybe this is one of those opportunities where they do let off a little bit.
Yeah, it's one of those, playing safe to remove all possibilities of kind of making that mistake that gives your opponent a win, and playing so safe that you're giving your opponents advantages that you never should. And right, that old version was, you know, kind of the ladder of Tempo Storm, whereas now it's kind of, you know, Tempo, they're very much looking at the future of this game. They know that even with the 16 mark being picked up, that they have such a significant advantage with those catapults on the top half of the map, the pressure they're going to get through mid, that even if the fight happens on the bottom half on control point C, they're going to demand responses from the one. And ask, like, when we talk about catapults on core, who do you send back to make that happen? Probably going to be the Zeratul, one of the biggest kill potential tools that they need within this composition. Other than that, maybe a Thrall? I know it's not going to be the Chromie Garrosh or Stukov. Either way, it's a major setback for the one, and Tempo sees that already and is just going to wait it out.
I mean, by the way, for that Crash Lightning, we just hit 20 stacks not too long ago, so at least now it prioritizes heroes over minions when it does go through there. Hey, not able to get any type of setup there as we see Cattle and June just scooting on by. And now the focus down here in the bot lane, but level 16 has been picked up. Zeratul, we can see him on the minimap. He's going to continue. I kind of wondered if he was going to come in for that flank. Instead, he's going to focus here on the minions, try and keep up with XP.
So this is really a great moment, I feel like, where we can see if Tempo Storm with that foot off the gas, if it was enough, right? If they are able to play around with that macro pressure they have on the top half of the map here, only 14 minutes into the game around this control point, because this is the last fight that it feels like the one is going to have on the same talent tier here, as we are now 10 seconds out from control point C.
Will be the one's potentially last stand, because the Protector, as it gets later in the game with that keep already down, maybe Tempo Storm will look to end it, but they haven't done a whole lot of damage here in the bot lane. They're going to hold position for now. Again, still holding on to multiple turrets and that healing pulse.
Hey, just going to stay mounted up there and not give any percentage over to Gloron. Keep in mind, time is on the side of Tempo Storm, not that of the one, as there's 2 catapults, going to be a third in that last wave, and that is damage on core, ladies and gentlemen. Fan kind of poking and prodding. Hey, moves up. He's isolated. Jet Propulsion's going to land there. He throws down the turret. Indomitable is used. Catapult still mounting on top.
That timer is starting to tick, and right now nobody has obtained control. Hey, continuing to hold point. That turret's starting to wear off. Hugo unable to make something happen, and they continue to rain down skill shots, but now Tempo Storm has obtained control over this control point.
3 catapults officially on the core, locked in, ripping through the shields. There goes Hugo. Zeratul going to get the back there. Immediately is the Dragon Blade from Tempo Storm, or Dragon's Arrow and the Dragon's Blade into the fray. Timeout, everything used, but that Condemned coming out from Cattle to punish. It's not enough for the kill, but the 3-man Jet Propulsion comes out from Gloron. Arrow number 1 gonna hit there from Fan. Hey, throws him back there, but another reset set up for Fan. Meng's gonna be the 3rd, and Andre may even be the 4th. Tempo Storm wasted no time, J-How.
Temporal loop, and now into the trap. That's going to be another fate for Genji. Hugo trying to make the huge play here, but there are catapults. There are minions that will be creeping up here. But man, I tell you, Tempo Storm, it seems like they have control, and every time they want to take a fight, the Dragon Zero. I mean, every single time.
That was just clean. I mean, from beginning to end, we talked about it. Tempo knows exactly the circumstance that they're going to look. The second Zeratul ends up getting the back. Yep, Dragon Zero all in. That being said, timeout could have been held for a significantly longer amount of time. There were a couple of things that definitely panicked on the side of the one with that initiation. But very well done here from Tempo Storm. Is going to net them that Protector. And with the 20 advantage this late into the game, Tempo Storm might be looking for lethal.
Yeah, they've doubled up now on the turret camps. I mean, if they really want to take time out, maybe they'll go and get that camp up at the top right. It looks like Blaze might be moving towards that. And again, just get that Protector. I think, yeah, they're going to do just that. They are looking for the all-in.
They're going to time the top plate at the exact same time. Go ahead, hit me with it.
They're not. I mean, I think they've kind of overestimated now, and the one is trying to make another stand. Now it's up to Tempo Storm to kind of hit the reset button. They're going to have to clear that camp up at the top, I think, to get any value out of this approach. I'm really surprised. I feel that this late in the game, a Protector is strong enough to move into that top lane without all the assets they just obtained.
Now let me hit you with this. The 20 advantage is pretty significant, and I agree with you. With the camp on the top half, Tempo's not going to get that split pressure that they would have liked. There may be an argument with the idea that maybe they could have hoped with that fort so low, false sense of security, the members of the one stick around it a little bit longer, easy initiation, which increases the probability of lethal. But I do agree. If the macro was the idea, Tempo Storm did, kind of miss the mark there a little bit, though. We did end up seeing Hugo display himself towards that top half of the map. Tempo with this Protector. They're making that transition as well. Smart decision making from Cattle, you know, to be the only one taking that risky transition. The rest of Tempo takes it safe. And now the question is, can Tempo win the game? Void Prison is only a 5-second delay, ladies and gentlemen, away from that core. And I think Tempo has more damage than just that.
They have 3 turrets, one of them, of course, in the Protector. So we'll see how they approach this. The Protector making its way to the core. The rest of the one trying to make their way forward, but the Protector is here. Blaze, however, has been isolated with that massive shove. And now Tempo Storm on the core. Shields are down, looking to end. And that slow from Cattle from that level 7 is keeping them at bay. And that's going to be enough here for Tempo Storm.
We're still going to have the pause button coming out from the Void, I'm guessing in a couple of seconds, but either way, it's just a pause button. They're stalling it out. There it is. The Void Prison does end up coming through here, but I mean, it's full HP, Dragon's Arrow as well. Tempo Storm will end up picking out the win here against TheOne on Volskaya Foundry, and more importantly for North American fans, find 3 points.
Tempo Storm regaining their resolve here as we've moved through the tournament. They have definitely qualified. It's just a matter of how high up can they go. Obviously, I'm going to let somebody else do the math on that one. But
yeah, caster math, never on live mic.
I mean, I don't even have anything in front of me. It's just I know that Tempo Storm 1-2-0, and that's a really good thing.
Unless you're, you know, a China fan. Then not so much there. TheOne did end up trying to bring the fight, but at the end of the day, it can't help but feel like a lot of the, you know, kind of cruxes that we always describe when it comes to the aggression of the region and the lack of macro sense. You know, in the past, it used to demand an answer because of how extremely offensive it is, but now it feels like it's respecting the opponent, but not willing to address the macro either. And somewhere that has to be worked on. We saw moments of that from TheOne, but in the end, Tempo Storm was the better team.
Tempo Storm, the better team, and I know Tetra's probably a little bit sad back at the panel, so we're going to send it back to Kalaris to see if he can cheer him up.